Hello and welcome to Higher or Lower, the show brought to you by oddschecker, Sporting Index and Spreadex, as we look ahead to the weekend's football, choose the midpoint in various spread betting markets from the Sporting Index and Spreadex, and say if we think the eventual result will be higher or lower. I'm delighted to be joined by Dan Worth.
Hello.
I'm Jack Wright.
Hello.
And I'm George Ellick. How are you guys?
Really well. How are you?
Good. We've all got a bit of a spring in our step, haven't we?
We have.
Because last week we won.
We did, yeah.
Yeah.
We did.
We all kind of said the same thing.
That is the thing, isn't
And then
it?
we all kind of, I went against you guys and won and lost and you guys won.
Yeah.
We all got one wrong over goals. We got wrong on
Yeah,
Friday night. There were
Started
two.
well, didn't it?
Started well.
Yeah.
Yeah. The midpoint would have been a lot higher than what it was after not long.
Tough break for you on the Villa-Arsenal one as well, because Villa did look pretty good.
Yeah.
Obviously, on the wrong end of the result.
But they lost.
They did.
Would you
By
say
two.
you are process-driven or results-driven?
What a question. What a question. Results, I'd imagine. But I
That's
enjoy
what I
the
thought.
process. I enjoy the process.
You enjoy the process?
I'll give you respect for the process.
Right. So talk me through the process of Reading's 3-0 defeat at Wrexham on Saturday.
Clinical finishing from Wrexham.
Yeah.
League One referees.
Oh.
League One referees. Incredible.
And squad depth for Reading is... You've got to expect defeats here and there when you...
But
when
you've
you
got
really have them.
Kelvin Abashaman.
We do.
Will he still
And
be
an
a
off
Reading
game.
player in 2 days' time?
Yes.
Yeah, I think he will be too. Jack, how are you feeling?
Really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Positive.
Good.
Vibrant.
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 You feel vibrant.
Feel vibrant. It's the sun.
Great.
What's this fourth successive show where we're all wearing shorts?
Yeah, next week I reckon we will be as well. Higher or lower? Third Thursday of September, I reckon,
Okay. Right.
is when maybe the trousers come out.
Yeah. The jumper's on.
Yeah, we'll see. It's quite warm in here, though. Sorry about that. We should get into the games we're going to preview, starting with Friday night's game in the Championship, Luton hosting QPR. Should say here, if you haven't got a Sporting Index account or a Spreadex account, you can find a link in the description below. T's and C's do apply. There's a new customer offer in there as well. And do remember that losses can exceed your initial deposit. So please make sure you read up on spread betting and the risks involved before you get stuck in. Right. Luton QPR. Spreadex have the total goal line as 2.7 to sell, 2.9 to buy. So 2.8 is the midpoint. Higher means 3 or more. Lower means 2 or fewer. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I mean, basically here, I'm thinking that QPR have had quite a strange start to the season. Martí Cifuentes has come in last season and made them a really solid side defensively. And to start the season, they've been conceding a few goals. Similarly, Luton have started the season really poorly. A 1-0 defeat against Preston last time out was, possibly a bit of rock bottom in terms of where they'd expect to be, just 1 point from 3 games. But if you look at the way the games have actually gone, like Luton were very unlucky against Preston. They created by far the better chances. Preston barely created anything, scored with one of their only shots. They've lost the game 1-0. Also, defensively, yes, these two teams have conceded a lot of goals, but they're both massively behind their expected goals conceded, where, like, in terms of the actual quality of chances they've conceded this season, it's not particularly high still. They're still relatively strong in that regard, but the teams against them are being very clinical going forward. So I kind of think this is ripe for a bit of variance, where, like, suddenly their keepers make saves. The opposition don't just score with every attack. And yeah, I think kind of 1-0 either way or a 1-0 draw is got to be a pretty big runner for this one. Dan, I know you think that floodlights equal goals. So was that, as soon as it was Friday night, were you like, done? That's fine.
Pretty much. No, not quite, but an equally silly process from me is that I'm sticking with if it's under 3, I'm going higher, which 2.8 midpoint clearly is. There was obviously a 1-1 draw in midweek between these two sides. I don't know how much you can take from that. I'm guessing you're taking a lot from it.
Yeah, huge. Like a huge amount.
Yeah. I see both teams scoring here, which is a nice base for needing over 3, and I think Luton win. So the 3 goals doesn't appear a massive obstacle for me. I think it's a matter of time really before Luton start to get some wins under their belt.
Yeah.
They've amounted 5 XG so far and only scored once, so they are creating the chances. So
that's a bit of XG variance the other way.
Yeah, exactly. So
love it.
You'd like to think they will convert.
Yeah.
Eventually. So yeah, my main reason is I think Luton get a small win here, I even go as far as say 2-1, 3 goals make up, and a very small profit for me.
It's going 2-1. Calling the actual scoreline. Amazing.
Well, it's worked well for me in the first two. It's going to start to just go terribly.
Yeah, fair enough.
It is, but
Jack?
Strangely enough, I had 2-1 in my mind as well as the scoreline is concerned. And
A couple of shrewdies here.
Indeed so. Indeed so. And I actually had pretty much an identical argument to what Dan's now gone through there.
Yeah.
I kind of looked at it and it did feel a little bit of the vibes from last Friday night. The same kind of scenario as what was going on there. And it's a little bit of a conundrum for me to go between what's effectively, as you say, the results that we've been seeing, and then have a look into the underlying data, and also a little bit of expectation as to what to see. And say Luton are causing them a bit of pain at the moment. I expected them to have a relatively smooth transition into the Championship.
Yeah.
And it's not been the case. But they have been, I said, XG is high. They've just not been converting those chances. And when you consider the forward players they've got and still got at the club, you'd assume that's going to be something that's going to change pretty quickly. Converting those chances into actual goals. I think they've got the biggest differential as far as their expected goals to what they have scored in the league. So again, which way is it going to go from what you said, defence or attack? We'll see. But is it a hangover from the Premier League? Is it just, say, a bit of bad luck at the start of the season? Maybe the balance is not right. Is it going to come good? Rob Edwards, of course. Someone. Unbelievable. What a pair of managers for you on Friday night.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think Rob needs a result fairly soon.
Agree.
I mean, I think that Luton fans still have faith in him, but like it's all felt a bit weird this summer for Luton, where they haven't really recruited aggressively at all. Their team on opening day was very weird. It was almost a bit of Rob Edwards almost saying like, I need players here. And I think it kind of feels like they're overthinking it a little bit. We're actually just a continuation of what they did last season, albeit without Ross Barkley is probably enough for them to be a decent side. And I do think last Saturday was maybe a return to that. But yeah, we'll see.
I think they had 21 shots in midweek in the EFL Cup tie, but they weren't quite strong. I'm not going to say it, the QPR manager, because I can never...
Martí Cifuentes.
I can never say it after you've said it.
do it justice.
Cannot do it justice,
Fine.
no. So I think he said that it's going to be a different game, of course, then being at the Kenny. So Adebayo, Morris, Chong, Doughty, they've got those players that can turn it on. And QPR have obviously got a little bit of going forward themselves. So should be a great night under the lights at the Kenny.
Friday night under the lights. What a place to be. On to the Premier League stuff now. Arsenal versus Brighton. Arsenal, the home side here, and our favourites in the supremacy market. This is where it's the team who are favourites over the underdogs. How many goals they will win by. The midpoint here is 0.75. So the buy price 0.85, sell price 0.65. So higher here is an Arsenal win. Brighton win or a draw is lower. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, we're all in agreement here. Jack, why don't you have first run?
Okay, thank you.
Right.
I just think, again, I said it last week, how can you go against Arsenal? It was harder to support them last week than it is this week at home. Been absolutely sensational. I thought it was an absolutely massive, massive result for them last week. Not necessarily the performance, but the fact they've gone to Villa, who beat them twice last season, and got a win. I think David Raya coming in, he's won man of the match, I believe, in his first 2 games, which has shown that they've not been easy for them. But as coming in as his first game or his first season as an actual official Arsenal player, signed, sealed and delivered, great that he's actually kind of shown their confidence has been well rewarded. So yeah, a psychological massive win for them, say last week, which they can kick on with. And look at their form in 2024, it's absolutely exceptional. Played 20, won 18, drawn 1, lost 1. 58 goals scored, 9 goals conceded. It's just absolutely insane. So it's
crazy.
A supremacy of plus 2.45 on average across a decent variance of games, like half a season's worth of games. That's incredible stuff. So they look relentless, great at home. And say, look, I think Brighton will cause them trouble, they'll cause them problems, but not enough to get anything from the game. A win for Arsenal again for me.
Yeah, it's exactly how I feel about it. Like, if you're looking at the fixed odds market on oddschecker, best price Arsenal 4 to 11, Brighton 8 to 1. Like, which of those would I rather back?
Exactly.
I'd rather back the 8 to 1 Brighton to win the game. But realistically, like on the spreads, if you're selling, then you're backing the 11 and 4 shot, which is laying Arsenal. And on the weighted probability, what's more likely to happen? I thought Brighton had been so impressive in their first 2 games under the new manager, but United did create chances against them. They obviously thought that they'd gone 2-1 up, only for that Xerxes deflection over the line to scupper them.
Yeah.
I think Brighton can give a really good account of themselves here, play very well, and still come off second best, which is basically what happened to Villa last weekend. So, and we know that Arsenal are so strong at home. We know that Arsenal don't concede many goals, and with the market here, where you're winning more the more they win by, it wouldn't be a surprise for Arsenal to put some daylight between them and Brighton. Whereas, a draw for Brighton here, which would be a great result for them, is only 0.75 profit from the midpoint. So, in full agreement that Arsenal's the safe way to play this.
Yeah, I literally have nothing to add. It's exactly the same as last week.
Yeah, there we go.
It's the same rationale as last week.
Yeah.
I'm actually a little bit surprised because I think it was exactly the same line as well, right?
Yeah.
With Arsenal being the home side this team, and arguably, I'd say Brighton are not quite as good as Aston Villa, particularly as the away side. Arsenal won both games.
Not what the league table says.
And the league table never lies. Even on the 29th of August.
Yeah. Arsenal won both games to 0 last season against Brighton. I know that's quite a rough comparison because a lot has changed at Brighton, and we've already seen that in the first 2 games. But yeah, just needing Arsenal to win. I've stuck with that. If it's under 3, I'm going higher every time. If Arsenal only need to win by 1, I'll pretty much be there every week. So
I thought it might have been over 1 just here.
Yeah,
for this
me
one,
too.
To be fair, but I believe you had Brighton top 7 or 8, didn't you? You must be very pleased with that start because I thought that might take a little while for them just to.
As I said, recency bias. And everyone forgot that Brighton are actually a very good side, and a bad run on the back end of last season under a manager who clearly wanted out wasn't really indicative of where they were. I wish I'd made more of the fact that Brighton and Palace were basically priced up the same in all markets, which is just taking 2 months into the season and being like, that's...
how they look right now as well is incredible. So
exactly.
I must have. I've reassessed Brighton and eked them up 2 or 3 places,
but not good enough to beat Arsenal on Saturday.
Not so.
quite.
On to another team who will have aspirations to win a title, albeit probably with City we expect them to win it, whereas Arsenal probably the pretenders. City travelled to West Ham on Saturday afternoon. West Ham, having made a pretty good start to life under this season under Julian Lopetegui, City looking pretty rampant as ever. Erling Haaland, I was going to say back to his best, but he scored 28 league goals last season.
Pretty poor.
The total goal line here is 3.35 to sell, 3.55 to buy. That's with Sporting Index. The midpoint 3.45. So higher is 4 goals or more. Lower, 3 goals or fewer. 3, 2, 1.
Going against my rules. Under 3,
straight away.
Under 4,
Didn't
I
last
go
long at
higher.
all.
Under 5, I go higher.
Amazing.
Well, it will be no surprise. I fancy goals here, clearly, by the
do.
higher paddle. City have won by at least a 2-goal margin in all of their last 11 in the Premier League. That's quite nice. And I suggest they do the same here, but I fancy both teams to score. So 3-1, job done. Again, it's only a very small profit, but I'll take it.
I love how you keep predicting the exact result.
I'll keep going until it
Fine.
stops working. So next week, no results will be predicted.
Okay.
It's because we don't show.
I think. Yes, correct. I think last week City proved that they're not shut off at the back. They can concede. That's why I fancy both teams to score, because I quite like West Ham this season. Not against Manchester City, but we've already discussed this. So anyone who's watched this will be very boring. But
I think that's the case anyway, isn't
it? Made quite a few strong signings, and I think they'll have a good season. But City just no match, wrong way around.
I think it's easy to get because it's City, and you just think goals immediately. But City win a lot of games 2 or 3-0 very comfortably. They don't concede many goals, and I think crucially in West Ham you've got a manager in Lopetegui who is very defensive minded. He's a defence first coach. And, there are a lot of people who know a lot more. I mean, Wolves fans included, but also European football experts who are kind of a bit baffled by West Ham's decision to move on from David Moyes and bring in someone whose ideology isn't that far separated from Moyes, where it's not particularly exciting football. They go out and they sign really good, exciting, attacking players, but have they got the manager to go alongside that? They've played, Guardiola and Lopetegui have played a lot of games. I think it's 4 games against each other for various different teams. In the Champions League between Porto and Bayern, they were really high scoring, but they played once in the Premier League last season, which was Wolves City. And Wolves just camped. Sorry, 2 seasons ago. Wolves just camped. They just were like, we're happy, we're not going to really attack. They kept it tight until half time, and City scored just before half time, scored twice in the second half. It was a 3-0 like regulation win. And that's kind of what I'm expecting to see here. Is I don't think West Ham are going to cause City too many problems. They might score, they might do so, but also I don't think this is going to be a game where City run riot, where West Ham play a high line and try and attack them. Even if they go behind early, I still think West Ham will stay compact. So, my kind of, if I was going to be betting on correct scores here, I reckon like 2-0, 3-0 City would be the ones I'd look for. So, happy to go under.
Yeah, pretty much everything I've got written down there. In fact, City have not conceded in any of their last 5 away league games.
Wow.
And 3 of those have ended 2-0 to them. So that is a very good position
there you go.
Very good position to take. I feel that in Lopetegui, they've got a manager that will obviously respect the opponent that he's got here. He is known for his defensive setup and coordination. And has he started the process already? They were the 4th worst defence in the league last season. Only the bottom 3 had conceded more goals. And he started with a 2-1 defeat, but since then gone 2-0 at Palace, and then a 1-0 win in the Cup this week. So you can potentially say that there's already signs that he's getting that organisation in place already. So I think, he'll sit deep, he'll look to counter. He's got the tools to be able to do that in the wide areas and with the focal point up front, be it Antonio or Füllkrug. So I think it sets up well there. And I also think Pep will appreciate this is a tough opponent, go into West Ham. All elements of that West Ham side look strong. So I think he'll go there and you try and put what you think is going to happen into your head and then onto the selection. And I just feel this could be one where City will get the win, get in front, and then control the game out. So 2-0 would be my, if we're going with correct scores as we appear to be now. 2-0 would be my punt on this one.
Lovely stuff. 2 games to go. Next up, it is Newcastle against Tottenham. 2 sides where we generally have come to expect goals in recent times, and we're looking at total goal minutes.
Yeah.
Is your mind on a bit of an Indian break?
Yeah, I need a holiday. Yeah.
So do I. Have you ever been to Goa?
I haven't. No, it sounds very exciting.
I've been. It's good.
Yeah.
A lot of people there who clearly went to Goa in like the 70s and have just not left.
Nice.
Well, I mean, I guess so. I could see you doing
Nice
that.
for them.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'd make filming this quite difficult if I had to come back every week.
I don't think you'd do it.
No, I'd much rather.
Albeit you could dial in.
Good dial in.
Max Rushton hosts Guardian Football Weekly from Melbourne. You could do this from the beach in Goa.
Don't put ideas in my
Lovely
head.
stuff. I think you'll have a different haircut after a few years if you was in Goa. So total goal minutes, I should say. Here, 186.5 is the midpoint with Sporting Index, 179 to sell, 194 to buy. So this is the total cumulative minutes that goals are scored in within the game. So higher, you want loads of goals and late goals. Lower, you want fewer goals and early goals. Going higher or lower, 3, 2, 1.
Oh!
I don't believe it.
Look at his face.
That is incredible.
He's never been
put
so
the right one
happy.
up.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Go on, tell us why.
Oh!
I mean, it's look at his face. It's a high line.
Yeah.
But I think this, unlike what I said a second ago about West Ham Man City, I think the first goal here will cause absolute carnage because the ideologies of both of these managers in Eddie Howe and Ange Postecoglou is to basically keep attacking regardless of game state. And therefore, if and when one of these teams go ahead, and we know that Spurs in particular are very fast starters, I think it will turn into basically a game of basketball. I can't really see any reason why. The only reason I think there won't be goals in this game is if the teams can't finish on the day. I think there will be loads of chances within it. I think it'll be relatively tight, which again plays into goal minutes because if a team is chasing the game late on, they commit a lot of men forward and that causes carnage at the other end. So even though it's high, like in my mind, the fact that this line is lower than the Liverpool-Brentford line last week just makes absolutely no sense at all. It's a rare one for me, but this is a game where I think we could see plenty of goals. Dan, what's your riposte?
Yeah, I was saying to Jack off air actually, both of these teams, I feel like the season hasn't really...
Friends?
This is what happens.
It's
We're
waiting
1
for you
minute
to
before
turn
we
up.
record.
I'm going to prep.
It's all the prep. It feels like there's still quite a lot of question marks around both of these teams. Like Newcastle, the first game doesn't really count because they had a man sent off so early.
Yeah.
Tottenham have played two of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah. So haven't been tested too much from a defensive
Haven't
standpoint.
been tested too much. And like you can look at the 4-0 win over Everton, but I don't think you can take too much away from that.
Yeah.
You look at the historic results against these two teams, and you'd probably lean your side because they are high scoring. But the one that stands out to me is the 6-1, where there was only 173 goal minutes made. 7 goals.
What's that got to do with anything?
So even if there are loads of goals, it doesn't necessarily mean
Because of that one game.
Well, there's also the 2-1, which was 125. 4-0, which was only just 200.
Right.
So
Dan's had his calculator this week.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he said he wasn't very good at maths.
I'm not very good at maths, as you'll probably prove to me when there's loads of goals here late on. But yeah, I just think with all of the question marks that I've just said, going higher was too much of a risk for me this week. I'll probably be back there when we next record, but not here.
Okay. Jack?
Well, it's hard for me to actually justify it. A couple of things that you said I totally agree with. So when I put it into comparison with that Liverpool-Brentford game, I was a bit like, wow, how has this been pitched lower? But yeah, I have gone lower based on, from what I have seen of the two sides this season so far, is that they are just misfiring a little bit. I know Spurs scored 4 against Everton, but who can't do that?
Wow.
We'll find out this weekend. And the chances that Spurs missed against Leicester as well. The flip side of that, of course, is they created them, and on a given day they'll score loads. I remember watching this game last season, and Spurs just didn't turn up, and it was 4-0, wasn't it? But and it was only a late goal that got it over the line. But I'm the same. I expect it to be open. I expect it to be an exciting game to watch. I'm just pinning my kind of lower on the fact that they have been a little bit misfiring and a bit disjointed in attack so far, especially Newcastle. It's likely to come good at some point in time. I'm just hoping it's not going to be in this particular game. And I just felt the line was high enough for me to be able to play a lower in this one here. My bottom line that I wrote in my notes was I feel I could get stung in this one, but I'm prepared to take the chance.
Yes. Okay. Taking the chance there. I think I'm taking the chance, if we're honest, aren't I?
Okay.
But,
well, history would suggest that this is an absolute goal fest, and bear in mind both sides scored 4 goals.
But we know that historical data doesn't matter.
Yeah, and it's quite unsustainable, isn't it?
Very unsustainable. What am I talking about?
What's unsustainable?
Goals in every single time you play an opponent.
But you just outlined why they're.
He just wanted to use a catchphrase. Next thing you'll say is
winding
this
me
game.
up. Okay.
This game.
Sorry.
This game's going to peter out.
Yeah.
He's petering it out.
Hopefully.
Exactly right.
Okay, right, on to our next one, which is our final game we're going to preview before we get to our tips of the week. Manchester United versus Liverpool. Interesting, this Arne Slot's first trip to Old Trafford. Big game this for United and Eric Ten Hag, because you have to think if results don't, after the Brighton defeat, they need to make sure in front of the Old Trafford faithful they don't lose to an old enemy. Mo Salah has started the season very well, 2-2 under Slot. Happy?
Yeah.
Why?
Over 19 goals.
Nice. Yeah, 7 shots, all in the box so far this season.
Good, isn't it? Yeah.
His player goal minutes, so the total cumulative minutes in which he scores goals in the game, is 29.5 with Sporting Index. So higher is him to score after the 30th minute, or multiple goals that equate to 30 or more. Lower is him to score in the first half hour, or no goals whatsoever. Higher or lower? 3, 2, 1.
You two are so boring.
Well, you were the one who went under in the big line.
Yeah, true. How can you look at this, Mo Salah against Man United, and think lower? Well, you're going to tell me why you've done that. But Salah loves to score against Man United.
Okay, cool. Jack?
So much so he hasn't failed to score against United away in the Premier League since 2019. 6 in his last 4 at Old Trafford, including a hat-trick.
Yeah.
He just absolutely loves it. Scored 2 that you mentioned already this season, 65th minute and 70th minute. So those goals alone would double this market. That would be a nice little profit. So I think it will be quite tight. So in my head, any Salah goal is going to come after the first half an hour. So one Salah goal wins me this in my head.
Okay. I mean, sorry, I've got to call you up on that.
Go for it.
What do you mean one Salah goal wins it for you in your head? Like, there is a third of the game that it wouldn't win it for you.
Yeah.
So how does that make sense?
So chances are that one goal does win it for me. because there's 2/3 where.
Oh, I can't.
His head.
Yeah, it's your head.
It's in my head. There's a lot that goes on in here, and it's all very happy. Loads of goals all the time in my
Zombie.
head. Don't always. Doesn't always equate to it, but I think here it does.
I had to write 2 separate pieces on Mo Salah's record against Liverpool this week, so then to have to justify why he's not going to score, he's going to score lower than 29.5 in this game, was potentially tricky. But look, I just feel that United are going to look to make this tough for Liverpool. They're not going to open up the way they kind of have been previously. I think especially at home as well. I think Slot is also seen that he's a bit of a watered down version of Klopp and what we're used to seeing over the last decade from a Liverpool side, and it will be a bit more controlled. Also, I think his direct opponent on the day is one of United's best players at the moment in Diogo Dalot. I think that's going to be an interesting matchup, and I know that the goal, the Brighton goal, came from that area, but that was from a set piece where Dalot was elsewhere. But I say in open play, I think this will be a real good matchup, and I just feel that the way United will set up here and will look to make it tight, I think is going to potentially make this a lot closer game than probably the narrative would suggest. And so therefore, yeah, I'm prepared to take the risk on the run coming to an end at some point in time for Salah.
Yeah, I kind of think unlike what Dan said, I think the first half an hour here is where Liverpool are going to be dominant, and I'll be surprised if Liverpool weren't ahead in the first half an hour, and he's obviously the likely goal scorer. So I think Salah scoring is a massive runner, but like him scoring in the first half an hour is a big runner as well. I don't know. I wouldn't have the conviction to think he's going to score over one goal, which is what I'd probably have to do to get involved at this time.
I think my thought as well is, like I mentioned, that Klopp obviously when he was in charge at Liverpool would just keep going. We mentioned it with Postecoglou and Newcastle, Tottenham, regardless of game state, they'll go for it. And Jurgen Klopp was that with Liverpool, wasn't he? If they were 2-0, 3-0 up in this game, they'd still want to make it 4-5, as we've seen before, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Slot's a different mentality. We've seen it already that he kind of can control a game out. And I think if he's in an ascendancy in this game, that's potentially more what he would do. So unless Liverpool are having to chase this game, there is a very good chance that there won't be goal action for them at the later stages, which is obviously where this one, the main money comes in.
Right, that brings our analysis of the 5 chosen games by our esteemed leader to a close. Time for our tip of the week now. This is where we each choose a selection from across, I think it's just Premier League and Championship, isn't it? Probably. Yeah. So I should look, yeah?
Yeah, so far it has been, so let's stick with it.
Our favourite bet of the week, elsewhere. So Dan, what is yours?
I am buying shirt numbers.
Shirt numbers?
You're buying shirts?
In Chelsea versus Palace.
Wow,
at
okay.
50.
Talk us through that.
Well, before I do that, Chelsea obviously play tonight, so I don't think it will have a massive bearing, but if the likes of Palmer and all the other high shirt number Chelsea players get injured, I'll maybe think twice about this, so maybe wait until that's done before you back it, if you do want to tail, but I just think there's going to be goals. This is a genuine question, I'm not taking the piss. What is the...
Oh, God.
What's
the reason for shirts rather than just goals? Or a goals market?
Well, if I'm perfectly honest, the 2 naps that I've done so far have been supremacy, so I wanted to dip into a new market and have a little bit more fun that has a higher ceiling.
Great.
And I think shirt numbers here does have that.
Yeah.
As I said, I think there's going to be goals, and the market suggests there'll be more than 3.
Yeah.
A lot of the Chelsea players that are likely to score are more than your usual strikers, as over 10, Jackson 15, Palmer 20, even Madueke 11. Some players from the bench, I don't know if Nkunku will be on the bench or not, but he's 18. Same for Palace, if they are to score. Edouard 22, Teta 14. Nice goal against a team in midweek. I can't remember which team. Kamada 18 if he comes on from the bench.
He scored as well.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? Yeah.
You're just going to run through all the scorers from midweek, aren't you?
Yeah, it was 4-0, I think.
Yeah, it was 4-0, yeah.
And you just have to look at Chelsea's result against Wolves. I'm not saying they're going to win this 6-2, but they have proven that these games can unravel and they can score multiple goals. Shirt numbers made up 103 in that game, so if it is to repeat, there's, as I said earlier, like a nice ceiling there. So fancy goals, and so I've gone for shirt numbers.
Good stuff. Jack, what's yours?
Well, actually, I was scrolling through the markets looking for what I was going to pick out as my nap this week. And I've noticed this week you did a lot of tweets, posts, I think they're called these days.
No, tweets.
Ex-posts.
Let's still call them tweets, I think.
Good,
Yeah.
good. I'm happy with that. On FPL, I noticed there's an actual FPL market now from SpreadX.
There is.
In this as well.
Yeah.
So.
Are you doing that?
I'm not doing that.
Okay.
I thought Dan might, because he seems quite...
Well,
Big FPL guy.
we obviously don't have a higher or lower fantasy Premier League because if we had, you'd know exactly why I'm not doing that, because I'm rock bottom of every single league I'm in. So,
Well,
you just go lower then.
so am I. So we should put
Yeah.
it in a league together.
it's not too late.
Just
is
the
it?
two of us. And then one of us won't be bottom.
God, I can't lose in another method to you. Like, it's getting boring.
Just get your lower pad
we
out.
can make that. I can sort that out.
Let's do it. Look forward to it. Good. All right. My market
Yeah.
is in Everton versus Bournemouth. That's the
Ooh.
game I'm going for. Yeah. And I'm going in the super mega minutes
Oh,
market.
here we go.
Yeah.
And Antoine Semenyo is my player choice for that. Now,
Nice.
super mega minutes is basically goal minutes, but if said player scores 2, that goal minute he scored in is doubled. And if he scores 3, it's trebled. So
Yeah.
a very high ceiling in this one if you're going to be
yeah.
a multi-scorer. Anyway, the line set midpoint is 14 in this, so I am going higher. Generally speaking, Semenyo, an absolute EFL product, a player obviously that at his time was superb at Bristol City generally, and a player I very much enjoyed watching. Had a few issues, didn't he, back and dip of form, injuries and so on, but come over to Bournemouth, had a decent first season there. I think 8 goals he scored. But what I've been really impressed with is the start he's made to this season. Scored in the opening day.
Helped a bit by Solanke's not being there.
Yeah, I think so. I was going to say he's like obviously now missing the talisman and the main scorer in Solanke. It seems like sometimes you just get a player then that wants to step up and become the next man. And watching him against Newcastle, he was on fire. Both in the fact that he could take the fullback on the outside, provided the assist, needed to provide another one, just inches away from that being finished. He also can cut inside. He's got a ferocious shot on him. Thundered the ball against the bar in that game as well, so came close to scoring. And he's had 12 shots across the season so far in just those 2 games. No player can top that number. Eze is the only one that matches it, and everyone else is below it. So I think he's obviously showing his penchant for taking a pot shot.
Yeah.
Has found the back of the net already, and I say has threatened to score on more than one occasion already this season. So up against an Everton side here that are in a little bit of disarray. We obviously saw the footage of them sheepishly, or most of them sheepishly, not all of them, boarding the train back from London. Fans not happy, and Goodison Park is a kind of has helped them over the years and getting those points to get them over the line. But when the atmosphere potentially could turn a bit toxic here, if Bournemouth got off to a strong start, I think that could be a real bad place for Everton players to be, and they might hide a little bit. And I like Semenyo up against Everton here, the defence. And taking it because I think it's a relatively low line for a player that's shown real good attacking intent so far this season.
Lovely stuff. I'm off to Portman Road, where if you want to find goals in the last year or so, Portman Road has been the place to go. And I don't think that's been reflected quite yet in their Premier League prices. They host Fulham. Fulham under Marco Silva, not averse to goals themselves. The total goals line with SpreadX is 2.7 to sell, 2.95 to buy, but I want to spin it into goals cubed.
Here we go.
Which is 44 to sell, 51 to buy. Now, please take accordingly, because if there are 0 goals or 1 goal in this game, you basically lose the whole 51 points because 0 and 1. But the way it works is that the amount of goals in the game cubed. So 0 is 0, 1 is 1, 2 is 8, 3 is 27, 4 is 64, and then it spirals. 525, 6, 216? Something like that.
I'm impressed.
So
that you got to 3,
So this is one where you're hoping that it's going to really spiral out of control. And if you look at Ipswich at home at Portman Road since last season, we've got how long have you got? We've got in order starting in August a 4-3 defeat against Leeds, 3-2 against Cardiff, 4-3 against Blackburn, 3-2 against Wolves, 4-2 against Preston, 3-2 against Argyle, 3-2 against Swansea, 2-2 against Norwich, 4-3 Rotherham, 3-1 Birmingham, 3-2 Bristol City, 6-0 Sheffield Wednesday, 3-2 Southampton. So those are all games where this bet would have won in, with some of them going up into the hundreds. And I don't really see why, with Kieran McKenna at the helm, up against a side in Fulham who are obviously quality opposition, but they're not, a Liverpool, for example, last week, where they were very good in the first half, but they were going to struggle to break them down. I think this could spiral into a high-scoring game. So I'd be surprised if you're still getting kind of 50-ish to buy in Ipswich home games against mid-table opposition in the Premier League in a few weeks' time. That's all I'm going to say.
I think it's that's a nice bet. That.
Thank you.
Yeah, goals at both ends. I think are fairly guaranteed.
Ooh.
Interesting. Right. There we have it. That is our show this week, drawn to a close. Thank you very much to the guys, as ever, for joining. We won't be back next week. Boo. International break. Everyone hates it. Although
So soon.
Loads of EFL action, but doesn't seem to matter, apparently. So make sure you stick with us. We're back in a couple of weeks with another episode of Higher or Lower. Do check out oddschecker for all of your fixed betting needs. But make sure, if you don't have a SpreadX or Sporting Index account, click on the sign up on the link below. Sign up. There's a welcome offer for new customers there too. Do make sure you check out the rules and regulations around spread betting, because you can lose more than your initial deposit. So make sure you check that out before you bet and gamble responsibly. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Enjoy the football.